Good evening. Welcome to the February 15th meeting of the Auburn Finance Committee. We have a participation script to read first. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Finance Committee is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, 1-786-535-3211 and access code 991-599-357. Or the public can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com, join 991-599-357. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Auburn Cable Television. So permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda participating remotely are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Kevin Kennedy.
Here.
Ed Coleman.
Here.
Trevor Sansucci. Michael Marshall.
Here.
Patrick Jones.
Here.
Diane Byrne.
Here.
Thank you. Town officials and employees participating, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Town Manager Ed Kazanovich.
Here.
Administrative Assistant Sharon Kwiatkowski.
Here.
Okay. And please note that each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. All right, so let's just look at the agenda today. We have, we're going to review and vote on transfer requests, talk about the budget schedule, look at minutes from a meeting, and then adjourn. So the first thing we have to do are transfers. And Sharon has provided us this packet. We'll just go right in the order that we have in this packet. So the first transfer is from the Board of Health. The amount requested is $7,400 coming from the inspector's salary, which has a balance of $43,062.27, and it's going to the Assistant Health Director salary to cover the cost of employee benefit payout and adjustment for promotion within the department. Do you want to tell us about this? Mrs. Coyle, thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. So for this transfer, I'm requesting the board consider this. We had an employee that had left us in the fall, the assistant health director, and as part of that, we had a benefit payout, and so that's what this request is for. Since that time, we have promoted from within, so we do have the assistant health director position filled by the health inspector that's been here for 5 years. So I'm happy to tell you that.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you.
The next transfer is for the DDIS Code Department. The transfer is coming from the education line. The amount requested is $500. The education line has a balance of $1,315. The transfer is going to the office equipment line for W&M supplies.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick? Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, the next transfer is from DDIS Animal Control. The transfer is coming from the kennel maintenance account, which has a balance of $700. The amount requested is $500, and that's going to the travel line to cover deficits for travel. Do I hear a motion to recommend or to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Kevin,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Next transfer is from the fire department. We have two transfers, both coming from the same account, the firefighter's salary account. Hi. The first transfer is, the amount requested is $5,500 to go into the firefighter education account to clear up a deficit in the account. And the firefighter salary account has a balance of $95,021.73. Do you want to tell us about these?
Sure, good evening. That's just to cover some contractual obligations where there was a change in the amount for the firefighter education for the contract.
Okay. So is this, are we still working with a Quinn bill, or have we changed over to?
Fire department does not have a Quinn bill.
Okay, all right.
It's just an educational piece in the contract.
Okay, great. All right. Any questions?
Just briefly with the chief, can we just touch upon the other two, the overtime account one, and then where the building maintenance one was on the next one, which is?
Sure, which one would you like to do first?
Overtime first.
Okay. So the overtime, we have a deficit, well, we don't have a deficit yet. We know we're going to run short in overtime, we're a little low. Some of that cause is from the death of Lieutenant Paul Wood. Some of it is from injuries that we've had for people currently out, and then between just new people on and off getting it where we are. That's what the overtime amount is for.
And the other transfer, which we haven't read yet, is also coming from the firefighter salary account going to building maintenance account. And there's a shortfall in that account.
Yeah, currently that account, the amount that we're requesting will put us with a $2,000 balance to get us, so that won't get us through the rest of the year, but that will get us probably till April at the time. We had some plumbing issues out at Station 2. The drains were completely blocked. We had a drainage company come out, try to hammer through it. They said it was solid cement. DPW Facilities Group did a great job, and they broke through the wall, had to get the plumber out there, replace it all, and put the new drains and put it all back in. So that was an emergency repair that we did not anticipate, and that is the cost.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have a request for a transfer of $5,500 from the firefighter salary account going to the firefighter education account.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. The next transfer, also coming from the firefighter salary account, the amount requested $44,000 going to the overtime account because there's a shortfall in the account.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. And the third transfer, also coming from the firefighter salary account, the amount requested is $11,169 going to the maintenance account, and the reason is that we have a shortfall in that account.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you,
evening.
sir. You too. All right, so now we're looking at the police department. The first transfer hello, is from the reserve account. The amount requested, $9,121.92, to go to the equipment repair line. And the present balance in that account is a negative $9,121.92. And the reason is that for the VMware upgrade security update resignation. Okay, we have,
So that particular transfer, we had to disencumber the two POs to allow for that money to be freed up to pay for a software upgrade that, unbeknownst to us, there were vulnerabilities to possible ransomware and whatnot, and supposedly the vulnerabilities were identified in October, but they didn't get us a quote until the end of January. But nonetheless, we didn't have that.
okay. So, and I see you've put the quote and the information, in the packet, thank you. So, so this has to be done, and, it hasn't been done yet, though, right?
Portion of it has already been done. I believe I today had on the bill schedule, it was a $5,200 amount that was for the first portion of it, but I believe there's still one further installation to do. They do it all remotely, so
Okay.
I get into the wrong business.
All right, do you have any questions?
Chief, what system does this protect? Is this your CAD RMS system? Is this, what is it?
It's the entire, yeah, predominantly the RMS. As you probably know, Southbridge PD was a victim of a ransom attack where their entire records package was held captive for the better part of several weeks, and they were more or less out of business. But it protects everything. GDS, this global data, they do our entire IT from everything, we have an IT person in-house, a police officer who does a lot of it, but they do all the, dealing with all the servers and make sure everything's protected and upgraded properly and all things IT for us.
And I guess my follow-up question would be for the town manager. How does that relate to townwide systems? Is there a GDS equivalent? Why aren't we paying one overall, or is it because Auburn has separate servers, they need their
Yeah,
own
it's a separate standalone system, separate from the town. And I'd like to take this opportunity to say that Deputy Chief Mills has the distinct honor for FY '24 to make the first request out of the reserve account. So we do have 200, I believe we have 250,000. We haven't transferred anything out of that yet. That's an honor.
Well, it's for something that's very important, so that's okay, too. All right, any other questions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike? Patrick?
Yes.
Ann?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. All right, so the next transfer is for the police department. We have 4 transfers, we have 4 transfers on this page and 3 on the next page, all coming from the patrol line. So that's 7 transfers from patrol. Do I hear a motion to take these 7 transfers together?
Motion to take 7 transfers as one, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. So we have 7 transfers, all coming from the patrol line. The first transfer is for $34,421.80 going to the deputy chief's salary. Contractual obligation, position, start date expedited. And the present balance in the patrol account is $61,304.36. So was that the start date for the person, the employee was?
That would be the person's mind.
Yes, well, yeah.
So the original start date was January, we made several appointments. How many were done that day? 6? 6? In October? September.
So September instead of January, thank you. All right, the next transfer coming from the patrol line is a request for $1,017.83 for the chief holiday, contractual obligation. Next one coming from the patrol line is $3,430.30, going to chief's salary, contractual obligation. Next going, let's see, the amount is $986.36, going to the clerical line, a contractual obligation COLA adjustment. The fifth transfer is coming from the patrol account, $858.08, going to the chief's Quinn bill, contractual obligation. Next, we have a request for $8,605.66, going to the deputy chief Quinn bill, contractual obligation, position, start date expedited. And the last is a request for $2,716.30, going to the deputy chief holiday line, contractual obligation, position, start date expedited. Okay, do we have any questions? Yes, questions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. Okay, so the next transfer is coming from the sergeant's line, which has a balance of $4,942.61, and it's going to equipment repair. And the reason for the transfer, increases in cost of services. So will that will zero out the sergeant's line after everything's been encumbered?
Correct.
Okay.
That amount will go to, obviously Verizon increased prices this year, and it wasn't accounted for in the original appropriation for FY '23. So that's essentially, that combined with whatever residual there is should, I hope, reach the end of the year for us. Because now we've combined both accounts, so we have, the department phones, the cell phones that we do have in the department, as well as all the air cards for the mobile devices that are in the cruisers, so it's all into one.
All into one?
And it's approximately $2,000 a month,
Okay.
essentially.
Okay, and that's all with Verizon? Okay. Questions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And chair votes yes. So we have, here's another transfer from the patrol account. This is for, the amount requested is $13,000 for technology support, and this is the expected cost for the remainder of fiscal year 2023.
Those costs are over and above, excuse me, the software upgrade that we spoke about earlier. And, our two biggest monthly expenditures are, it's Verizon and GDS, between, the IT stuff and the phone, Verizon in general. Those seem to be month in and month out. They're the big ones, so. GDS is running almost $3,000, close to $3,000 a month with all the various things that they do for us. Because I don't know, I'm not an expert in any IT area, so I always double check with our person to ensure that what we're getting billed for has actually been done. Not that I don't trust them, but I just want to verify, so
Okay.
that's all.
And Madam Chair, we're seeing this across the board, even in our own IT department. Year over year, maintaining the same type of contractual obligations we have now, that cost is up about $50,000 over current year. So that's something you're going to see in the '24 budget.
Okay.
And it's not only limited to technology. We're seeing this in fleet, as you're going to hear tonight. All these costs are just going up, and it's becoming a challenge in dealing with these rising costs.
Okay, thank you. And this will get the technology support line through to the end of the fiscal year, okay?
So something like GDS that you're utilizing, are we in a contract with them? Do we negotiate a contract so that we don't have these spikes in services, or is this where it's a regular, it's not a one-time firmware upgrade, sounds like this is an entity that is overseeing more of the
I
IT
had
upgrade.
discussed, prior to Mr. Zadelis leaving, I had discussed with him finding, another company potentially, or at least putting it out to bid. The problem that you run into is how much cooperation there's gonna be between the two companies. Not to say that they're holding us hostage, but, they may be reluctant or slow to turn over certain passwords or certain accessibility things. So, I'm trying to navigate through that, because I'd love to drive the cost down, because it's a ton of money.
Having a contract is those type of things.
Right, not to exceed this amount per fiscal year, or,
Accessibility for future passwords and things of that nature are contractually obligated to transition to another vendor should that change.
And I can tell you on our side, we look at long-term potential contracts or agreements that minimizes as best we can those spikes every year. So I've had several discussions with Mike, and that's something we explore, and he stays on top of on a day-to-day basis, so.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. All right, so the next two transfers are coming from the Patrolman's Quinn. We don't need to take them together, though. Let's see, the first transfer from the Patrolman's Quinn, which has a balance of $36,058.72. The amount requested is $24,874.44, going to the educational stipend line, and this is a contractual obligation newly created line item.
Madam Chair, can I just comment before you open that up for questions?
Exactly, yes.
Early on, we came before the Finance Committee and transferred out $103,000 to meet the contractual obligations in the patrolman's contract. Part of the discussion I had with the deputy is, let's just transfer a value that was identified, and then we'll see if we can somehow do some internal transfers without relying on the reserve account to fund some of those other obligations. So we did the initial transfer knowing that we were going to come back and that we were going to see if somehow we had accumulated savings within the police department to address some of the other funded items within the contract. And so, in essence, this is what that is doing.
I understand. So the money was already transferred, a lump sum, to the patrolman's line, and now it's being sent to the specific line.
With the understanding that if it didn't come from within, we'd have to go back to the reserve account and transfer it out of there.
Okay. Yes.
So what is the newly created line? Is patrolman's Quinn and educational stipend, are they gonna be different?
Yes, so,
What's the difference contractually?
for an associate's, it's 2,500, for a bachelor's, it's 5, and for a master's, 7,500.
Based on new hires are getting their stipend and existing hires retained?
So those who are Quinn eligible would continue to get Quinn.
ideally phasing
It was making it difficult to recruit new hires when other communities are offering educational incentives, so we addressed that at the table. Yeah,
And it came after, obviously, after FY '23 been approved, so.
So when we see next year's budget, it'll include Quinn line, and then there'll be educational stipend line.
Yes.
So we'll know-
yes.
Thank you.
It won't be blended together, it'll be separate.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, any other questions on this transfer for $24,874.44?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. The next transfer, also coming from Patrolman's Quinn, which now has a balance of $11,184.28, is going to overtime account. The entire amount is going to overtime account, $11,184.28. And what's the reason for that, Deputy Chief Mills?
At this, the two transfers that are going into overtime.
Yep.
Our overtime has been $250,000 for approximately 12 fiscal years, I think. As budgeted. These two transfers will put us at 286 for the year currently. I know last year we spent over about 307, I think, if I remember correctly. Unfortunately, with the overtime that was incurred through the dispatch center predominantly, I mean, obviously, patrol played a reason, we all played a reason in that, well, not me, but patrol officers also. And I have a running, narrative as to why, what reasons we've had. We've had people out injured and whatnot. But in particular, the dispatch center was undermanned. We weren't able to keep people there at some point. And, we probably spent $60,000+ in overtime over the course of the summer until the communications director was able to get in place and then apply for the grant. So now the overtime's coming out of a grant, through the state. So that's mitigated through the rest of the fiscal year, hopefully, or it will be for the rest of the fiscal year. But we still don't have a firm number on what the several events in both Memorial Day Parade squares, and then the fireworks again fall before the end of the fiscal year this year. So those are major overtime events for our department. So I don't really have a firm number on that until we know exactly who's going to be assigned, but this would put us in a good spot, I would believe, until the end of April, hopefully beginning of May.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Just,
Yeah.
you've had several new hires, will that level it a little bit, relative to overtime? Is that balancing out a little?
Should, I mean, right now, we've had five technically. One is full-time working because he was already trained. Two are still in the academy. One graduates next month, one graduates in May. And then there are two who did graduate at the end of December. They're in their second full month of FTO, so they don't count yet technically towards actual manning, but they will as of February, so yeah, as of the beginning of April. So by the time June rolls around, we should be, in pretty good, better spot, so manpower-wise.
Yes, sir.
Is there money that was accounted for a dispatcher's salary that obviously, like, if it wasn't filled, has also been transferred? Like, have we already transferred money out of there, or?
Has not been transferred. We are looking at that and some of the communications director salary money that's still remaining. We're trying to figure out, we may end up moving that into overtime, in further transfers possibly. We're not 100% sure yet.
And just to let you know, too, the budget that's coming before you in the coming weeks, we carved out dispatch as its own separate unit.
Yeah.
So we can identify those costs for a number of reasons. One, I think one of the reasons that the deputy identified is that overtime is combined. We don't know how much is dispatch, how much is police without running reports. But it makes it a lot easier for us to apply for grants now, because we can now identify those costs without, combing through all those various accounts. So there's an advantage by doing that, and you're going to see that in the next year's budget.
Okay, good. Yes, sir.
This appears to zero out the Quinn bill, like, line item. Are we comfortable that we don't need that money for the rest of the fiscal year?
So the only way we will have a vacant position or two coming up. They're not vacant yet. I think there's an attempt to go out for a lateral transfer. If that individual is Quinn eligible, then we will have an obligation. But right now, it appears that there's no interest in how long has that been out there? I don't know.
2 weeks, at least 2 weeks, and I haven't received any emails as to interest, so we're anticipating probably banking that person's salary from the 27th of February through the end of the fiscal year. And there would be no Quinn problem or issue with him at all, with anybody that falls.
And we do have one retirement coming up, and one individual is leaving. I think they are both getting Quinn now. So it will free up Quinn money once they leave. Okay?
Any questions? I have a question about the grant. You said that dispatchers were able to get a grant from the state. How much was that for?
Well, there's two separate grants through the state 911. One is training and education, and the other one is what they call a support and incentive grant. That particular grant, which covers predominantly overtime, some equipment needs, I think it was $68,000, if I'm not mistaken. The other one is, I wanna s-
11?
yeah, it's not it's less than 15,000. It basically just, it pays for training costs and or backfilling of, if someone goes off to training, paying that person to backfill their shift. So I mean, it's a huge help, it's a huge help once it comes, whether you get it in the first of the year, in July, or, then you run out in December, January. But ideally, we'll be fully staffed in there, moving forward. The director has done a pretty decent job about recruiting and keeping people,
That's great.
keeping positions filled.
Is that going to be something that we get every year, that we can apply for?
We've been getting that every year since its inception, which was, I want to say, back when I was supervising dispatch, so 2006, 7. They're, just for edification purposes, if it matters, the grants are all funded by taxes and fees that are on all of our cell phones. So we're all paying for it, one way or the other. Unless they do away with cell phones, they're always going to be around,
All right.
the
thank you.
grants.
So make sure you add your kids on your plan. It generates some additional revenue for
I'm
us.
trying to get them off, all right. I'm trying to get them off. Do we have any questions? Any other questions? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, all in favor. Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick? Diane?
yes,
And chair votes yes. Okay, so, we're in this one now, right? Okay, so the next transfer is coming from court time, which has a balance of $38,920.82. The amount requested, $25,000 going to the overtime account. Okay? Do you hear any questions? Patrick?
I'm just curious, because we funded this with a backlog of court, are we dipping into an area that is going to leave a balance well enough for the remaining cases for the fiscal year?
Court? Yeah, absolutely. It's starting to pick up and normalize a little bit as far as the amount of trials and our guys actually appearing in court, but for a long time, even the beginning of this fiscal year, there were not a lot of court appearances. I'm not sure what the reason was, if the court wasn't up to full, running at that point, but we're seeing a little bit of an uptick, but what we have is more than sufficient, I think, to get us through.
I'm just curious, do you know what that line is funded at for the fiscal year?
Sure. It's off the top of my head, no, but
Yeah.
I got it. It's, 55,000 was the original appropriation.
And we spent just shy of 30% to date, so about 16,000.
Questions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. Deputy Chief Mills, thank you very much. Have a good evening. All right, so now we're continuing on the transfers, and we're up to the DPW Department. So the first transfer, DPW Highway Department, let's see, the transfer is coming from the civil engineer line, which has a balance of $31,767.29, and the amount requested, $5,000 going to building maintenance. This is needed for supplies and any repairs needed. And good evening. Joanna Catherine, DPW Chair. So any questions on this transfer?
Are there any, it's building maintenance, is there anything above and beyond or issues that have happened that we should be aware of relative to the facilities?
So, we did need to make some improvements, based on an assessment that the water district has made. And, in having to do that, there was some asbestos that was discovered. So with the asbestos remediation and the work that we needed to do, that depleted our our building maintenance budget, so we're trying to kind of get back up to get us through the rest of the year.
Okay, so this will get you through the rest of the year, probably, okay. Any questions?
Second.
Okay, so all in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And chair votes yes. All right, the next transfer coming from the civil engineer line, my request of $29 going to the property damage account. And the civil engineer line has $61,767 minus that $5,000. Reason, it's going to property damage account, and this is deficit due to reimbursement for damaged property of a DPW employee.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike? Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And chair votes yes. Next transfer is coming from highway wages. And, let me just see, that's, okay, so, the amount requested is $30,000. The, present balance in highway wages is $55,710.65, and the transfer is going to fleet maintenance. Do you want to tell us about that one?
I can do a general overview.
Yep.
It's the theme of, I guess, the last year and a half or so. Prices are going up, and we're just trying to keep up with all the repairs. I know that Nick has, he's been following the fleet spending, and he's been overseeing the work, so if there's anything additional that you wanted to add, or any questions, you can.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak a little bit more about that, and what Joanna already said is basically the gist of it. You know, it seems that it's mostly driven by the cost of materials. We've recently invested in a new software that's going to allow us to track these costs, track our repairs, and build sort of a vehicle history so we can trend it a little bit better. But just looking at the repairs, just compared to last year, as an example, breaking it out by department, police, fire, and DPW, we've already hit the amount we've spent last year by the end of January. So just in the way of giving you a heads up that this $30,000 is not expected to get us through the rest of the year.
Just, not so much of a question specific to the $30,000, but almost more of a request as we move towards the FY '24 is, I don't know if it'd be possible to have some, either a presentation or a report. I know we raised concerns before the town meeting in the warrant articles as to look at the overall fleet operations and costs savings and fire coming on board. But almost a report back, whether it be a presentation or a statistical report to see where it is currently and where you envision things going, just to kind of get us up to date as we prepare to make sort of some recommendations relative to next year's budget. I don't know if that's something to present through the chair to the town manager or...
So my recollection is I think we came in, there was a request for 3 transfers for FY '23. This is the first request for FY '24. I think the time to address that is when DPW comes in and makes their presentation to you during the budget hearings. I think that will give Nick and Joanna an opportunity to dissect it, examine it, do a comparison to where we are, where we were last year. It looks like they've already done that, and what's really driving these costs. Because certainly I think we're seeing an uptick, like I said earlier, not only in technology, but other areas within various departments as it relates to their operating budget. I can tell you on the capital side, I gave you the capital request tonight, just to address what we had in place last year, it's costing us $200,000 more as a result of increased cost in equipment. Vehicles, equipment. Those adjustments have been made throughout the 5-year plan, but I did a quick calc on FY '24 request. What we had last year versus this year, it's up $200,000. So that's probably about a 15% increase. 15, and that just takes a snapshot today, at today's prices, and we're hoping at least it will stabilize, if not go down a little bit, as the economy rebounds a little bit. But we may not see that until the end of the calendar year.
In the software program you mentioned, Nick, is that in place or?
We're actually just ramping that up right now. So that was just recently purchased. We've been onboarding, getting our vehicles put into the inventory, and we just sort of rolled it out, kind of a soft rollout this week, kind of working through the kinks, making sure all the vehicles are in there. So, yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, the intention is to build a vehicle history and kind of trend it out, and that'll take time to actually see what those trends go. But it is being rolled out. We have started using it.
Does that assist you also in making your long-range determinations for fleet, for vehicles aging out in the townwide fleet, because you can look at?
Yeah, actually, this software has an interesting feature where you can program some parameters, and it tells you once a vehicle has reached the end of its useful life and the amount that you're paying, basically in maintenance costs, once you get to the beneficial useful life of the vehicle, depending on what type of vehicle it is. And it's somewhat subjective, because you need to put your own parameters in there, but it gives you at least a good idea, okay, you know, we need to start aging these vehicles out at this time. So yes, it does that. It does a lot of other great reporting, and some forecasting ability as well. So we're looking forward to that. You know, there hasn't been a lot of the problem with forecasting out fleet right now is, you know, there's not a lot of good hard data to compare it to, you know, behind us. So we're sort of only looking at the numbers, like financial, and that's challenging because everything's getting more expensive, and vehicles are getting more complicated and more expensive to fix. I know we talked about very recently that we created a new position for just working on fire vehicles, and we let everybody know, you know, we're going to be doing more preventative maintenance. It's going to cost more money. We're doing the same thing at the DPW and police. We're doing more preventative maintenance. We're able to free up more resources, but that also costs more money. The idea being sort of in the long run you're saving because you're not having to age vehicles out as quickly. But I think we're sort of seeing that.
I think for the preventive maintenance, if you can extend the useful life of that vehicle, it's less than it's wrong to purchase or acquire new vehicles. So there is a benefit by that, but you're paying for it today.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the transfer for $30,000. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike? Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. All right, so the next transfer is DPW cemetery line. This transfer is coming from the civil engineer line. The amount requested, $3,000 for heating. Heating oil and new water tank is needed.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. Now we have some transfers for Package Out Golf Course. And the first transfer is coming from the grounds seasonal line, which has a balance of $23,736.70. Matt requested $3,000 going to the merchandise line to purchase additional merchandise to sell at the golf course.
Motion to approve?
Second. Oops, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Kevin?
Patrick has a
Oh, I'm
I do
sorry.
have one question, I'm sorry, I
Okay.
should have just said that out loud. Do the revenues from like sale of merchandise go like into the enterprise fund for the golf course? Okay, I just wanted to clarify that out loud. And so, is there a reason that we can't buy the merchandise with the money that's in there now? I'm sure there probably is.
Because it's self-supportive and it stays within the enterprise fund, it doesn't exempt it from having a requirement for an appropriation. So
So even the ground seasonal line is in the enterprise fund? That's the part, I guess.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
We had the same question,
Okay.
so. that
All
works.
right. So, so we have a motion and a second for that transfer. All in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike? Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Next, transfer also involving Packagug Golf Course. The transfer is coming from the ground seasonal line, which now has a balance of $20,736.70. Matt requested $3,000 going to the food concessions to purchase food and drinks to sell at the golf course.
Motion to approve?
Okay, we have motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. The next transfer is coming from, also for Packagug Golf Course, coming from the contingency line, which has a balance of $10,000. Matt requested $8,000, and that's going to the banking charges line to cover the deficit in banking charges. May I ask, is that because we're having a good season, banking charges went up, so we have to put money in? Okay.
So, this goes to your question, Patrick.
Yeah.
We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. So, we, at the golf course, unlike any other consumer payment that uses a credit card, the enterprise fund absorbs that charge. In other payments, the consumer absorbs those charges. So this is something that I think we need to address in the future. But it gets complicated, well, it was complicated when we first set it up, but I think that's something we really need to revisit.
I think that the clubhouse manager is also, she's been working really hard to switch out our previous point-of-sale system into a different point-of-sale system that I think will also allow us to track the charges better and understand the fees that are coming along with it. So we're heading in the right direction. It's just right now we're trying to cover the previous vendor.
Okay. All right, that makes
Yeah, we just upgraded with a new software system up there. I believe it's in place right now, right? Yeah. So it will be in place for the start of the new season.
Yes, sir.
My question is just that, given the discussion on the prior transfer, and it being within its own enterprise fund, wouldn't it be prudent to just put an expense aside for it, and then try to, say, well, let's put 30,000 there for the year, and then wait till you spend that, rather than come to, because I'm getting the impression we're funding after the fact.
No, there is a line item called, I believe there is a line item called banking.
So
charge.
we're anticipating by June that we're going to spend $8,000 in credit card fees. Just trying to understand the nature of the transfer. So we're saying that we're going to fund it now because when spring hits and we start using credit cards to utilize the golf course, we're going to expend that money. We're putting it in place to pay the bank charges when they occur.
So Patrick, there is an appropriation that is part of the FY23 budget for $10,000. They've already expended $9,700 of that.
Right, because we spent it last August, September, and so forth.
Right.
I'm following you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And as revenue goes up, as there's more activity, there are more charges, so we have no way of knowing. I mean, I think last year was our best year ever in terms of revenue. So, and I think people are charging more and paying less cash, so that translates to additional charges.
So hopefully this will get us through to the end of the fiscal year. All right,
June 30th at least.
June 30th.
Incentivize using cash?
Excuse me?
Should we incentivize using
Yeah.
using cash?
That was,
Good discount the fee, right?
right.
Free bag of teas or something if you use your cash out of your pocket? Or?
Have implemented a minimum balance, minimum charge that where you can use your credit card, but you get another bottle of water or something and you can.
Okay, any other questions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike? Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, so that's all set for Packagug. The next transfer is a DPW sewer division.
Motion to take the following 5. I think there's one more on the following page, Madam Chair, as one
Two
transfer.
more. There's 6 of them coming from
6
the
of them?
wages. So we have a motion to take
all
these,
6.
all 6 transfers?
7 is on the following page.
Ooh,
too.
7.
7.
7 it is.
Take all 7 together. We have a motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. So these are, these transfers are all coming from the wages line. The first one is, the request is $20.28 to go to the salary for the DPW director, COLA increase. Next is $35.69 going to the operations manager, COLA increase. The next is $899.64 going to the salary for superintendent, COLA increase. Next is going to the clerical line, $1,702.68, union increases. Next is going to part-time wages, $540.04. Then we have $10,000 going to the education line to cover costs for training for CDL, ELDT, safety, PACP, and MCPPO. And the last transfer is going to the postage line, $1,400, to cover increase in postage and mailing costs for sewer billing. Okay, so what questions do we have about those?
I guess just the line relative to the education and more acronyms than the federal government has in there. What are some of those certifications, and is it a whole variety of certifications, or?
It is, it's a mixture of both the employees that are going into these wet wells, and there's a new requirement for for CDL certification that we can't train in-house. That has to be done through an outside vendor, unless it has to be a certified training facility. So to be able to attract employees, we have to hire these employees and then give them the opportunity to get these CDL licenses. So the bulk of that is the CDL license. I don't know if you want me to.
Just had a follow-up question. Can you tell me, and possibly more to the town manager, do we see some kind of benefit in our insurance for all the DPW, all of this for extra training? Do we get credits back for having qualified, trained people that we're insuring as a result of putting them through all this training?
I believe through our general liability, through our coverage, the CDL does allow for a discounted premium. To what extent, I don't know,
No,
but certainly, yeah.
It's out there somewhere. Okay, great, thank you.
We have been working with the insurance carrier to go over a lot of the training that we're providing the employees, as well as the policy.
I just know some companies, when you get into these large insurance coverages, will offer incentives because it's to their best interest to have all of this as a part of it as well. So they'll incentivize you, they'll give you a certain amount of credits for every employee and every certification or every class, and it goes full spectrum, not only in your area, but with the police and fire and within the city, the various departments and so forth, to get certifications and get training and keep that education up to speed. And then you get back proceeds on your original premium.
And that's one of the criteria we have to identify during the renewal process. You know, I mean, even as it relates to workers' comp, policies, risk management, all of that leads to hopefully a reduced premium.
So even though we're looking at this cost here, it's already offset by the benefit we'll get by doing. I think the point I'm trying to make is we're transferring 10,000 for this, but we'll see some, whether it's de minimis because it's a small amount, we'll see some benefit for paying this out and getting these people trained. Okay.
They're not allowed to operate certain equipment without this license anyway, right?
So one of the other acronyms, I believe, is the confined space training. So our employees aren't even allowed to go in there unless there's a competent person there. There's, I think, there's an MCPPO training, which would be for office staff to, it's the municipal procurement official training. Always, great to be able to be knowledgeable about the procurement, just so that it's not brand new anytime that we need to purchase something.
So the longest acronym goes to the procurement folks?
Yeah.
People wearing harnesses going in the trenches? And I think safety and training is huge and is great, protect the employees. Will we see, and it's great that you're using it for as a recruitment and hopefully a retention incentive for folks as well, but will we see increases in these lines in future fiscal years? Because a lot of these, I imagine, you need to renew these certifications and licensures.
I think, and if I may, I think what's driving this request is we had recent turnover within the sewer division, a large turnover in terms of a percentage. And it's tough to bring new individuals in with these certifications. So it's imperative that we get these individuals certified. There is a cost benefit, as Patrick has identified, but I think a lot of this is just a one-time upfront cost. How often do they have to maintain that license, Nick?
Yeah, so most of these are one-time costs. Some of the safety trainings they'll have to do periodically, but it's not necessarily yearly costs. Like Ed said, we had turnover over the past year, almost complete turnover in the department, so a lot of this is, in fact, the majority of this $10,000 is $9,000 for the CDL, ELDT. So that's entry-level driver training. That's what they need to take now. It's a new federal regulation as of last year. So once they have that, that cost doesn't happen again unless we have new employees who need to get that license. Safety training is obviously not overly important, but it's OSHA required, so it's important that these guys get that as well.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Motion to approve all the combined items?
7?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve those 7 transfers.
Did you read the last one?
Postage, yes, I read the postage one. And so we have a motion and a second to approve the 7 transfers coming from the wages line. All in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. And that's it for DPW. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming in. That's it, right? Yep. All right, so we have a few more transfers here. Let's see, we have a transfer in the accountant department. This transfer is coming from the assistant town manager CFO line. The amount requested is $13,950. It's going to the manager's salary to cover the cost of manager's accrued time upon retirement. Does the present balance a deficit?
No, that's in the, that's a mistake.
Okay.
There's 62,000 in there presently. Now, a portion of that is going to be used for the individual that's starting in the next couple of weeks. So we've already accounted for that.
Okay.
It hasn't been encumbered yet, but there will be $13,950 left.
Okay, great. And it's to cover the cost of the manager's accrued time upon retirement. Any questions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. The next transfer is coming from the manager line, town manager line, coming from the clerical department, and the amount requested is $4,200. the present balance in that clerical line is $4,399.34. The amount, and this is going to the manager's salary to cover cost of manager's accrued time upon retirement.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve. I'll second it then.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this transfer. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. And the next transfer is coming from the salary wage reserve. The amount, this is going to the manager's salary, amount requested $14,200. This is to fund the town manager accrued payout at date of retirement and to cover accrued liability due to incoming town manager resulting from termination of employment contract as assistant manager CFO.
Motion to approve? Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. Next transfer is from the salary wage reserve again. Amount requested $7,200 going to the town accountant line. This is accrued vacation payout for the town accountant's resignation. Is this the fellow named Tom?
Yes.
When did he leave?
November,
Okay,
so he had a accrued time that we had to pay out.
okay.
Motion to approve? Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And chair votes yes. And the last page of transfers comes under general services. There are two transfers. Let's see, the first one is coming from water, sewer, heating, which has a balance of $25,729.02. Amount requested $8,500 going to the postage line.
Motion to approve? Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike? Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And the chair votes yes. And the last transfer is also coming from water, sewer, heating line. And the amount requested is $5,000 going to building maintenance. So I would ask, does this get us through the end of the year?
I hope so. I gotta tell you, it's been a bad year for building maintenance. We've lost a circulating pump on our heating system. The replacement of that pump was about $5,000. There was a section of pipe that was rusted out, that was ready to blow, and there was the panel in the heating ventilation circulating system was rusted out, and it was, as a result, it was rusted out, there was water condensation, and we had to get that fixed. So a number of things were really not anticipated. Fingers crossed, hopefully we can get through, but we will, I think, we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll give you a heads up if in fact we believe we'll have to come back at some point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Just a question relative to that. So Facilities Department does a great job with a lot of projects, but are they doing any sort of glancing at any of these systems to say, hey, if we anticipate that rusted section of pipe, we can save ourselves?
So we used to do it annual, I should say used to. Annually, we did an inspection of our buildings, from the exterior to the interior. There are certain hidden aspects that can't be seen, whether the pipes are from the walls or whatever. That's where you have to rely on outside services to do those types of evaluations. I know we had some issues relative to the sprinkler system within this building over the years. That's very hard to detect because a lot of what happens you can't see. And it takes an alarm to be set off before you realize that there's a problem, and they have to investigate it and try to find out where the problem is. One other thing, as it relates to our public buildings, I just wanted to share some information with you. We lost a pipe at the senior center on the 4th of February, when we had that cold snap. It dumped 2 to 3 inches of water throughout the entire facility. It's in the process of being cleaned up, but just found out most recently, as a result of some analysis, some testing, that we have to replace all the floors, we have to replace all of the rugs, we have to replace all of the kitchen appliances, the cabinets. It was a mess. The building is expected to be closed 3 to 4 months, and we're looking at other locations to hold our daily senior center activities. The insurance company will make that part of the claim. If we have to pay rent someplace else, we're looking at a facility right now. But I just found out this morning that the floor has to be removed, and they tested the floor, and there's asbestos mastic that they use to put the floor tiles down. I don't believe the insurance company is going to cover that portion of the claim. That being said, that could be a costly removal, and we hope to get prices in the next couple of days. So I may have to have a meeting to address that portion of the remediation.
Thank you. Do we have a deductible on our insurance?
A $5,000 deductible.
Any questions? All right.
Motion to approve on
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the transfer for $5,000 for building maintenance. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
yes,
And chair votes yes. All right, so that's it on the transfers. Let's see, looking at our agenda, let's just skip down for a sec to the minutes. These minutes from November 16th, 2022 were emailed previously. Do you have any questions or concerns about the minutes? Okay, I don't hear of any. And now we're looking at our budget schedule update. So, do you want to tell us when the selectmen will probably get the budget?
So, through the chair, the governor is due to release the state numbers on March 1st. That's what we were told at the MMA annual conference. Hoping that we will know more about what is being released a week before the actual release. And I'm hoping that we get some type of information that will allow us to put the final, our final recommendations together, so we can release the budget to the board. If that is the case, we're hoping that maybe we can get a budget to the Board of Selectmen on the 27th of February. Ask them to forward it to the Finance Committee to start your deliberations and meet on the 1st. I believe that's a Wednesday.
Yep.
Which would kick off your process. And then, I know I reached out to the chair, and I know she reached out to each and every one of you to see if there would be any consideration on having a Saturday session from like 9 to 3 to address a good bulk of the budget, given the fact that we would be 2 to 3 weeks behind schedule. That would catch us up, and then we could resume our Wednesday evenings to complete the process and finish on a timely basis. Now, in lieu of that, if the board would rather extend the time they want to meet on a Wednesday, instead of the traditional 6:30 to whenever, if Saturdays does not work for everybody, then maybe we can consider extending that period of time to catch up,
So coming in earlier or staying later?
either or, or both.
Questions?
I would just think that if we are going to do a Saturday, that, a 6-7 hour day is fine, but we would have to plan some kind of a break or a lunch break or something in between. Just no expectation to go straight through. Breakfast will only last so long.
You said you were bringing lunch for everybody.
Well, I was, but I don't want to buy it if we're not going to have time to eat it.
And would would the department chairs be able to attend on that Saturday?
So I floated this with the department heads, they'd be willing to participate in the Saturday
Great.
session. If that's,
They're gonna ask for more money?
Are you,
oh, it's coming.
is the management's idea at the moment to do a shell of the budget and level fund it, just so that you have some working point, or just from a revenue standpoint?
So, I gotta tell you, it's been a very difficult budget year. In my estimates, even though we had a decent gain in state aid, not knowing what the current administration, new administration.
That's my thought, even the current administration, how much are they gonna increase? So that was just.
Well, I'm hoping with a stroke of luck that we would be the beneficiary of that luxury tax, because a good chunk of that is earmarked to go to education. So I know that started in January, and how much of that is going to play into the FY '24 budget, not having a full year of collection, I don't know. And that's the problem. I just don't know what the expectation is. In a 1% increase in state aid, given the budgets that I've already gone through, I'm looking at about a $750,000 hole. So I'm hoping that state aid comes through, because if not, it's going to be and that's taxing at 2.5. It's going to be a difficult year. One like I haven't seen in a long time, to be honest with you. We've been fortunate, but it's. And I think we're not the only community facing this.
All right, so, well, of course, besides approving the budget, we have to look at and review the warrant and make recommendations on that. And everything needs to be done by probably April 12th, so it has to go to the printers. So our last meeting would be April 5th, if we're going to do that. So should we set a meeting on March 4th, or should we just say March 11th?
I would say March 11th.
Okay, so let's plan on meeting on Saturday, March 11th, 9 to 3. We'll have a break for something to eat, and I guess you can arrange department heads to come in. And then,
Are we still gonna meet on the 1st as well of the 11th? Is that, or is it the 4th?
well, it's the 1st, and then the next Wednesday, was a Wednesday. The next Wednesday would be the 8th. We would meet on the 11th. Will we have something to review on March 1st?
I'm hoping, if we do get some numbers, and we can, I told the board last night, if I don't get it to them on February 27th, I would ask them to have a special meeting just to address the budget. So if it's not the 1st, then it would be the 8th. It would first touch your hands.
So I guess we could say tentatively we'll plan on the 1st, and almost really on all of those Wednesdays, and then we'll play it by ear to see how much we can get through.
Right.
And if we're prepared to do it on the 1st, if we're not prepared, then we'll forego that and start on the 8th. Okay? So starting the first Saturday, Wednesday in March, and then, of course, March 11th. Okay? Any questions?
Just wanna make sure I block out the time.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you said do we have a town accountant right now?
Town accountant is coming on board February 27th.
Okay. Do we have an assistant town manager yet?
Assistant town manager is scheduled to start March 6th.
Wow, okay. Got a lot of training to do, huh? Yeah. Well, that's good news. That's good.
So
news.
relief is on the way.
Relief is on the way.
Yeah.
It's not all on your shoulders.
No.
Well, a lot of it still,
It would be nice when they parachute in.
yes. All right, any other questions? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Kevin?
Yes.
Ed?
Aye, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. We're adjourned. Thank you.